hey, no big deal. It's Romania Black. It's just that we are on volume 2 of Thousand Autumns. And last chapter said, I don't know if you read it, but Yan Wushi playing the game of gay chicken. Takes yet another dip as he now look, Yan Wushi was just playing games with Shen Qiao, but that kiss, sir, you gotta be careful. Sir, you gotta be careful. We're going to be reading chapters 39, 40, and 41 today in Thousand Autumns. And last week we did take a considerable little chunk out of the story as we started, as we got into the second part of volume 2. And I have a feeling this volume is going to go by very fast, and I'm not mad at that because I'm ready to get to new uncharted waters. But in the meantime, getting some new, fresh updates to the stuff from the Donghua, I'm not mad at it. So I actually have quite a few comments that I want to talk to you all about before we get started. Now, I am going on a trip next week, so I am going to have to go ahead and record the next set of chapters before I get to the comments from this set, because I'm leaving like on a Wednesday and I'm getting back on a Sunday, and usually over the weekend is when I record Thousand Autumns, so I'm going to have to do it ahead of time so that it will be ready, because I don't know exactly what time I'm going to get back on Sunday, and I don't want to be recording for the very next day at the last minute, especially if you've been flying on a plane. That's just never a good idea. No, so I am going to go ahead in a couple days and record the next set of chapters, so it will already be done, but when I get back. So so I'll have lots of comments probably when we get to like chapter 45 to go over, which will be exciting. So, but to go with chapters 32 through 35, Yejan Li 592 said, I was thinking maybe Duan's displeasure towards Madame Su and Hugh Lugu's relationship might be because of his heritage as a half Han. I really liked this. They said that he was relegated to a secondary position to Kunye because of this. But Madame Su, being a Han woman, was able to win Hugh Lugu's favor so much that she was even rumored to succeed him. Yeah, look, Duan, you may not have had the parts that were needed to move up in the ladder, if you know what I mean. But I could see Duan's frustration. I could see it. I think it's frustrating that he is technically stronger than Kunye, but he's in a secondary position because of his heritage. That sucks. That's not cool. Yejan Li also said, you were right about Thousand Autumns being an online novel published weekly. The author likes to include some funny comments and skits about the characters and her author's notes at the end of each chapter, which was really fun to read. There's a part of me that I have lots of story ideas for stories, and I've always wanted to do like the week-to-week chapters, but I know myself and I know that I would post for a week and then like take 3 months off. So I don't know if I will get around to it. I don't know if people will want to read that. I have ideas, and I spent like 10 years with them mulling around in my head. I need to just write them and go, but easier said than done, right? Claro 3 for chapters 32 and 35 say, oh, so I think Yan Wushi was thinking about Song Jingjing when he was lecturing Xin Qiao about being taken advantage of. And I agree with that. I do think he was talking about Song Jingjing, which in the Donghua is going to come up. It's going to come up in this novel. It's just a matter of time. They also said, I love how this spirit of Chi Fengge is present in the story. Such a tease. It keeps me wondering about his relationship with both Shen Qiao and Yan Wushi and how it offers them common ground somehow, even though he may or may not be turning in his grave. Yeah, see, look, if they need to just relate to each other in any way, they can start talking about Shen Qiao's master and Yan Wushi's crush. Then they'll be great. Then they've got a common ground to start on. Maybe not a romantic crush, but Yan Wushi was wanting to be his rival, that's for sure. Rast for chapters 36 through 38 says, Yan Wushi is playing so many layers. He keeps sending Shen Qiao out to do work for him. He wants people to always think of the two of them together. If you think of Yan Wushi, you think of Shen Qiao. If you're thinking Shen Qiao, you're thinking Yan Wushi. He's such a dick. And I didn't take what he said as slut-shaming. I took it that Yan Wushi was pointing out that Bai Rong does not value a sexual relationship the way that Shen Qiao probably does. More of a jealous, watch out for her, she's flirting, but it doesn't mean anything. So I could see that. I could see that as well, that Yan Wushi is just like, she's really promiscuous and okay with it, and I can tell you are not, so just, inadvertently though, Yan Wushi's also like, man, Shen Qiao, I know that you're not into like whoring yourself around. I'm not either. I mean, we could both platonically like totally talk about that and like be around each other all the time and, do something with that. Yeah, it's like Yan Wushi is trying to mess with Shen Qiao and push him as far as he can, but then like at the same time, that close proximity is revealing to both of them that they actually do kind of have chemistry, and there's some attraction there. So it's gonna come to a head. Y'all know it is. And then finally, the moderator of our series on this channel, Be Happy, for chapters 36 through 38, said Yan Wushi's distrust and utter disbelief in human nature is fascinating. I'm feeling he's doing a social experiment on Shen Qiao to prove he is right, and no matter how righteous you are, your nature will come back forth once you are cornered enough. Or at least that's how it looks to me. No, I think that's right. I think that he's going to keep pushing Shen Qiao and keep pushing him and keep pushing him. And Shen Qiao is going to keep proving him wrong. And over the course of that time, he's going to also develop affections for him. And then what do we do with that? Fascinating indeed. Fascinating indeed. So I'm very curious to see what we're going to get with this chapter set, but thank you all so much for your comments. They've been so much fun and I've really enjoyed them, but we're not going to waste any more time. I'm like double fisting. I have the remnants of my coffee from this morning. I have tea. I am ready for 1,000 Autumns, this next chapter set, and to see what all we're going to get. So we're looking at pages 97 through 140, or 96 through 140 rather, if I'm looking at this right, of 1,000 Autumns, technically part 10 of our novel, part 9 of our novel experience, and then we'll be looking at the audio drama episode 9, and we're going to start this here in 3, 2, 1. We'll look at the audio drama after we do this reading, or I will, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Chief Fengge's disciples are no fun at all. Chapter 39, Meeting Beneath the Moonlight. It had been hundreds of years since Eastern Wu had established their capital in Zhongkong. During that time, Eastern Jin had migrated south and used the Yangtze River as a barrier to isolate themselves from the military chaos of the north. And so, Zhongkong had become the most prosperous city, not only in the Central Plains, but in all the land. Merchants from all over gathered there, while travelers and wanderers came and went like weaving shuttles. In the daytime, horses flooded the streets and endless streams, and when night fell, the city transformed into a sea of lanterns that shone all through to the dawn. The brothels were even livelier. Their incense cages and gilded rooms were sleepless all night long. Cities like Chang'an and Yachang were also capitals, but the toll they'd taken suffering through extensive warfare was evident. Everyone favored the comparatively peaceful Jiangnan, which saw little fighting. It was seen as such a paradise that there was even a saying that, quote, all the land's flowers gather in Zhongkong. The officials of Northern Zhou, such as Yu and Qing, might not say so out loud, but in their hearts, they all greatly admired Zhongkong. The attendants accompanying them had no need to hide their feelings. They were already gasping in awe. This greatly flattered the officials of Qin who'd come to receive them and who couldn't resist pointing out the city's various vistas along the way. Once inside the city, Yu and Qing's party naturally stayed at a guest complex Qin provided for them. Yan Wushi was put up there as well, on the basis of his official position and because he'd been their savior. Yu and Qing willingly ceded to the main courtyard, moving to the side yard to fret over his concubine Yu Ji. Since the scare that night, she'd fallen ill and had become bedridden, and remained that way. Only after they'd settled themselves in the city did she begin to recover. After the failed assassination, Heiwan's sect had shown no signs of movement. At first, Yu and Qing was still in a state of apprehension, but then he considered Yan Wushi. If the assassin succeeded while Yan Wushi was around, his reputation as the Huan Yu sect leader would be in ruins. And in the Jianghu, one's pride was worth more than their life. With this in mind, Yu and Qing gradually relaxed and took his beloved concubine to tour Zhongkong while he waited for the summons from the Emperor of Qin. One day, while Shen Qiao was listening to the maid read a book to him in his room, someone came to report that Yu and Qing was there to visit. At Shen Qiao's nod, Ruru put down the book and opened the door. Yu and Qing entered and looked around. Preceptor Yan isn't around? Shen Qiao laughed. The two of us have always roomed separately. If Senior Official Yuan wishes to see him, you've come to the wrong room. However, I've heard that Sect Leader Yang has business today. He left early this morning. I want to just pause for a brief moment and bring up that I don't know if you've not read MXTX's work, if you've not read Heaven Official's Blessing especially, what strikes me is that the relationship between Shen Qiao and Yan Wushi is almost in some respects polar opposites of Xilian and Huachong, because Here you have Shen Qiao and Yan Wushi being like, we sleep in separate rooms. We're never together. It's just business. We're just acquaintances. No, not soulmates or anything like that. Meanwhile, in Heaven Official's Blessing, it's the exact opposite. And they are shamelessly together at any given second that they want to be. It's really funny to see these two couples be so different. I really like it. Yuan Qing chuckled dryly. Excellent, excellent. As it seems self is too frightening. Every time I talk to him, I'm more nervous than I am with his majesty. Ruru couldn't keep a giggle from escaping. Yuan Qing had always been the type to indulge beauties. When he heard her laugh, he didn't grow angry, but smiled at her instead. This made Ruru feel a little embarrassed. Yuan Qing turned his smile to Shen Qiao. With the weather so fine, would Shen Gongji like to go for a stroll outside? Zhongkong sits on the banks of the Huai River, and I've heard that many ferry crossings dot it, each with its own market. Why not go out for a look around and purchase some fresh river delicacies along the way? Then we can have the complex prepare a feast for us tonight. After this, he seemed to think of something else. But then, you do come from a Taoist background. Might you be required to abstain from meat and eat only vegetarian foods? Ah. No such thing, said Shen Qiao. I only fear that my poor eyesight might be a burden on your outing. Well, good to know he's not forbidden from eating meat. Good to know that Shen Qiao is not forbidden from eating meat. Yuan Qing laughed. Shen Gongji saved my life. I was a burden to you then, so there's no need to be so modest. Shen Qiao didn't refuse him for a second. Then I shall be so rude as to accept. The guest complex wasn't, you know Yan Wushi's gonna be jealous of this. You know he is. Even if Yuan Qing means nothing because he's all into Yuji, he's a flirty man. He probably can't help it. The guest complex wasn't far from one of the crossings, so Yuan Qing declined to take a carriage. Instead, he brought Yuji and the others along for an outing on foot. At first, he was even worried it might be inconvenient for Shen Qiao, but although Shen Qiao had to use a bamboo cane for support, he was no longer slower than the rest of them and didn't require anyone's assistance. He walked abreast with Yuan Qing, no different from anyone else. Yuan Qing realized that Shen Qiao carried no sword. Shen Gongji, where is your sword? As if deducing the source of his concern, Shen Qiao smiled and said, Senior Official Yuan need not worry. If we encounter the enemy, my bamboo cane will serve well enough to fend off a few of them. Furthermore, this is still Zhongkong. With the Linchuan Academy keeping watch, Heihuan's sect won't be so reckless and overconfident as to attack us here. Shen Qiao had seen right through his anxieties. Yuan Qing's face went red, embarrassed. Oh, no wonder I felt that everything has been much more peaceful since we entered the city. The junior preceptor was even confident enough to leave and take care of business. And that is why. Chen and Zhou are allied to each other now, Shen Qiao explained. If you fell to assassins inside Zhongkong, then forget discussing the alliance. Chen wouldn't even be able to explain themselves to the Emperor Zhou. So they'll do their absolute best to ensure your safety. There are martial artists guarding the complex at all times. You just haven't noticed. Yuan Qing crept closer to him and whispered, Shen Gongji, I know you're not the type to be a kept man, and I'd never dare to look down on you. The junior preceptor isn't around today, so I'm taking a chance in telling you the truth. Do you know how those in Chang'an see you? Shen Qiao smiled but didn't speak. Yuan Qing thought that he meant he didn't know, so he tactfully told him, They call you a dragon trapped in the shallows, forced to depend on sect leader Yan. They think that to protect yourself, that you cast aside your morals and integrity. But I've traveled with you and you saved my life, so of course I know the truth is nothing of the sort. But it's like the saying goes, rumors can twist even metal. If you're able, I suggest that you stay away from Junior Preceptor Yan. And why let others smear and humiliate you for no reason? Even I grow angry hearing what they say. Shen Qiao knew that Yuan Qing was telling him this because of the scene he'd witnessed in the carriage the other day, but it wasn't something Shen Qiao could succinctly explain. He could only say, I'm deeply grateful for your kindness, but you're mistaken. I don't have that kind of relationship with sect leader Yan because he is a little erratic. His actions often surpass all expectations. Oh, I know, said Yuan Qing. Of course you're not a kept man who depends on sect leader Yan. I also hold no prejudice towards homosexuals, but given your circumstance now, if you and Junior Preceptor Yan are in love with each other, then I fear that the rumors and slander you encounter will only hurt you and not Preceptor Yan. Shen Qiao was at a loss. We're not in love with each other, and I'm not a homosexual either. I know, said Yuan Qing. It's not something you can say out loud. We share a silent understanding, so it's fine. Shen Chao lost the will to speak. Whatever Yuan Qing said after that, he let it flow in one ear and out the other. Interesting. I was curious if that was ever going to get brought up and what Shen Chao would say. So, I mean, it makes sense that Shen Chao is like, we are not in love with each other. Have you seen this man? He annoys the hell out of me, but I see him as someone that could politically change things in the right direction. So that's why I'm with him. But it's interesting that Shen Chao says he is not homosexual. So what's going to happen later? Are we going to have an awakening? Are we going to realize, is he just going to say that he's demisexual? Or how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this, show? We'll see, eh? Classic denial for now, eh? Interesting indeed. The ferry crossing was a hubbub of shouting and chatter. A great variety of goods were scattered about, and there were quite a few people like Yuan Qing, those on foot who'd come to browse and shop. Others were in carriages or on horseback, and yet more were calling out farewells to family from the riverbank and from docking ships. Quite suddenly, everyone was shoulder to shoulder as carriages and horses streamed like the river itself, on the verge of trampling each other. Then, a horse charged towards them from behind. But perhaps it had been spooked or its owner had driven it poorly. In a bid to dodge, their party was forced to scatter in different directions, and Shen Chao became separated from the others. However, he wasn't worried, as Yuan Qing had multiple men around him to protect him. Slowly, he walked back towards the market, following the riverside stalls. Now and then he heard the peddlers hawking things he was interested in, and he stopped to inspect their wares. Though his eyesight was poor and obvious to the peddlers, his clothing and bearing were completely unlike those of a beggar, so they didn't dare treat him with contempt. Rather, they enthusiastically talked up their merchandise to him. "Oh, sir, please, take a look at what I have. These are all woven from the finest bamboo strips. Basket, chairs, I have it all. And here are some of the little knickknacks. You can bring some of them home for your daughter or son to play with." When he saw Shen Chao crouch, he picked up a bamboo ball and thrust it into his hands. "Here, feel one. It's very smooth. No splinters at all." "It is indeed very smooth." Shen Chao stroked it while smiling. "I'll take one then." From beside him came the sweet voice of a child. "Uncle, uncle, my brother broke my little bamboo chick, so father told me to come and buy another." The peddler must have known the girl's parents. "Your little brother was being naughty again?" "But I don't have any bamboo chicks left. The one you bought before was the last. It takes a long time to weave one, and Uncle's busy right now, so I'll weave one for you in a couple of days." "Then I'll help Uncle out here," said the little girl. "That way Uncle can finish selling faster. Could you weave me a chick sooner then?" The peddler burst out laughing. "What can you help me with? Hurry on home or your parents will worry they can't find you." "Oh." Filled with disappointment, the little girl seemed to be on the verge of tears. Abruptly, Shen Chao said, "Do you still have bamboo strips?" Is he about to become Jesus? Is he about to make a bamboo chick for this girl out of nothing? The peddler was puzzled. "I do. Does this gentleman want to purchase bamboo strips?" "I want to make something with your bamboo strips and then pay whatever I owe you. May I?" The peddler laughed. "This gentleman is too modest. Of course you can." He picked up a handful of bamboo strips and gave them to Shen Chao. "But can you really weave something with that? What, with your eyes?" Shen Chao laughed as well. "I weaved some for when I was young." "Oh, I'm sure you did! For my little younger sisters and my younger sister and brothers, so I wouldn't be bored." "I still remember a little." "So was he the youngest sibling? Interesting." He said a little, but his hands moved swiftly. With nimble fingers, he tied a knot in the bamboo, wrapped one end around the other, and then inserted it into a tucked-away slot he'd already woven. In the blink of an eye, a little chick had come to life. The little girl was surprised and overjoyed. "A chick! A chick!" Shen Chao handed it to her. "I don't know how your last one looked," he said with a smile, "so I just wove one at random. It might not be as pretty." "Oh, it's pretty, very pretty. Thank you, big brother. You're the best." Off to the side, the peddler said a little sourly, "I'm not that much older than this gentleman, but you call him big brother while calling me uncle." Shen Chao laughed out loud. The little girl ran off, skipping and prancing. Shen Chao's legs were somewhat numb from all the crouching, so he stood, and then he paid the peddler from the bamboo strips and the ball. The peddler declined his money, but Shen Chao insisted, forcing the coins into the other man's hands. "May I ask which direction the guest complex for foreign envoys is in?" "Are you a foreign envoy who's come to Qin, sir?" Understanding dawned on the peddler, and he continued, "The complex isn't far from here, but with all the crowds, you won't be able to find it with your eyes. I'll take your esteemed self there." Shen Chao was grateful, but asked, "Well, what about your stall?" The peddler laughed. "There's no need to worry. I come here to sell bamboo wares every day. They're nothing valuable. Plus, the stall owners here all know each other. I'll just ask them to keep an eye on things." How could I allow a guest from afar like yourself to get lost? He led Shen Qiao back along the ferry crossing. The main roads were all full of people, so it's easy to get lost. Taking the alleyways is faster here. The peddler chuckled and supported Shen Qiao's arm to guide him. If this gentleman is staying here a few more days, he ought to take a couple more strolls through the city. Most of the food in the south is quite wonderful and painstakingly prepared. Once you start eating them, I'm sure that you'll... Something whistled through the air so small it was easy to miss. The peddler hadn't noticed and kept talking, but Shen Qiao's expression shifted a moment. With a sweep of his cane, he knocked the tiny needle off course and into the wall. At the same time, the peddler's voice came to an abrupt stop, and he fell limply to the ground. The person who'd ambushed Shen Qiao had also attacked the peddler. Shen Qiao couldn't reach everywhere at once. He blocked the needle that came to him, but had no time to do the same for the peddler. He acted a little too late. And which friend is this? Why must you hide yourself so? He crouched down to check the peddler's condition, and was somewhat relieved to see the man was only unconscious. Shenlong is so gentle and kind, even to the bamboo seller. So why is he so mean to me? A sweet fragrance wafted over to him, along with a voice so honeyed that it dripped. A small frown settled over Shen Qiao's features. By Rong? She was sitting happily atop the wall, her legs crossed at the ankles as she swung them back and forth. In her hand was a peony that she must have picked from somewhere. It's been a while, she said. Didn't we just meet when you tried to assassinate Yuan Qing in the middle of the night? Don't you know the saying, 1 day apart feels like 3 autumns? Said Bai Rong. So many autumns have passed already. Okay, let's do some simple math here. Let's do some simple math because Romania is not a math major. So I think we did this for the Donghua, but 1,000 divided by 3 means approximately about 333 days. So in other words, essentially, if the two of them were apart a year, that would be about 1,000 autumns. Because if it was like 365 days, it would be over 1,000 autumns. So at some point, it is making me think that either, or if the two of them know each other for a year, that would be 1,000 autumns. We'll see. How long have they known each other by this point? Like a month or so? 2 months? We'll see. We'll see where that 1,000 autumn kicks in. Whether the speaker was Yan Wushi or Bai Rong, Shen Qiao could never adapt to such a borderline flirtatious manner of speech. All he could do was remain silent. Bai Rong rolled her eyes and tossed him the flower she held. Here, catch! Shen Qiao caught it by reflex. He thought it was a disguised weapon of some sort, but a touch told him it was a flower. The realization startled him. When she saw his expression, Bai Rong grew even more gleeful. You thought I threw some kind of hidden weapon at you? Do you really think me so devious? Shen Qiao shook his head. That's not it. What isn't it? Asked Bai Rong. When you tried to kill Yuan Qing, his concubine and her maid had no chance of escape, and yet you didn't kill them. That proves that you aren't an indiscriminate murderer with no moral standards. On their behalf, I ought to thank you for the mercy that you showed. Bai Rong blinked. How do you know I showed them mercy? Maybe I was just too lazy to do more. Shen Qiao smiled, but he didn't argue with her. Bai Rong sighed. You're so handsome when you smile. You really should smile more. It makes me very happy that you think so well of me. Will you let me kiss you? Right after she spoke, she moved. Shen Qiao thought she really was about to kiss him. He reflexively backed up 3 steps, only to realize that she was still sitting atop the wall. She'd only been teasing him. Bai Rong laughed so hard, she almost tumbled right off the wall. Shenlong, why are you so cute? I just keep liking you more and more. There must be a reason you came to find me, isn't there? Asked Shen Qiao. What? I can't come looking for you without one? Bai Rong said, all smiles. All right, there's no reason for me not to tell you. I've been following you from afar, hoping to find the chance to poison you, knock you out, and drag you away. Unfortunately, you're far too alert, so I could never give it a go until just now. I went through so much difficulty just to talk to you. Her words were mixed truths and lies, half sincere and half facetious. Shen Qiao didn't know whether or not to believe her. He stayed silent and kept his guard up. The chick you wove for that little girl was so pretty, Bai Rong added. Can you make one for me too? Shen Qiao was taken aback, and then he shook his head. I don't have any bamboo strips with me. After thinking for a while, he tossed her the bamboo ball in his hand. Here, you can play with this ball instead. A giggle burst out of Bai Rong. Are you coaxing me like a child? Although she objected, she quickly palmed the ball and began tossing it up and down in her palm. Has little Bai Nyangji ever thought about leaving Heiwan sect? Asked Shen Qiao. Why suddenly ask? Bai Rong said curiously. Halfway through her sentence, her expression turned altogether severe, and her tone remained flippant. Sect leader Shen must have heard something from sect leader Yan, and now he thinks our Heiwan sect filthy and foul. Are we undeserving of speaking with you, the lofty sect leader of Zhandu Mountain? Murderous intent was pouring from her by the time she finished, as if she would attack if she found Shen Qiao's answer unacceptable. No, said Shen Qiao. Bai Rong's expressions changed faster than the flip of a page. In an instant, she once again wore a smile as lovely as a flower. Or did you want to call the Heiwan sect deplorable? To say that our men and women pair cultivate without concern for rank and seniority? And you're telling me to change sides and correct my ways? Shen Qiao frowned. I only feel that you might not like staying there. Heiwan sect is the place I grew up. If I don't stay there, where can I go? To Huan Yu sect? Or to Fa Jin's sect? Is murder better than pear cultivation in your eyes? Everyone calls Heiwan sect a demonic sect, but isn't Huan Yu sect one as well? Don't forget that Yan Wushi has far more blood on his hands than I do. And if you're talking about those prestigious, righteous sects that claim they're so virtuous, if you were still the leader of Zhandu Mountain, would you be willing to accept me? And even if you were, what about everyone else on Zhandu Mountain? Shen Qiao was left a little astounded by her long string of questions. Yes, you're right, he said with a sigh. I misspoke. He hadn't put that much thought into his question. He only felt that Bai Rong was different from someone like Kuo Zhijing and that it was a pity for her to remain in Heiwan sect. Bai Rong's tone was honey-sweet. I know Shenlong thinks I've been suffering in Heiwan sect. From the moment you were willing to help even a horse, I knew you were gentle, kind-hearted as a person. Good people like you are rare. This one will treasure these feelings of yours, but she has her own plans. So you need not worry about her. I'll tell you another secret. She suddenly jumped from the wall and floated to Shen Qiao, reaching out to tug on his sleeve. Though Shen Qiao quickly evaded, it didn't ruin her good mood. A trace of cunning shone through instead. You'll reap nothing good if you stay with Yan Wushi, she said, for a disaster will soon descend. To avoid becoming collateral damage, you should hurry up and put some distance. Oh! We're going to talk about this in the discussion, but interesting. She hadn't yet finished her sentence when her expression changed, but it wasn't due to Shen Qiao. She stared straight ahead far into the distance. Before bursting out, this one has important matters to attend to, so Shenlong need not see her off. Then she was gone, vanished without a trace. She must have used every iota of her qinggong. At first, Shen Qiao assumed it was Yan Wushi's arrival that had forced her to beat a hasty retreat, but the next moment he realized that he was wrong. The newcomer was not Yan Wushi. Oh, bitch. Okay. Chapter 40. Oh, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. Chapter 40. Two Grandmasters. Across the street from him, the clamor of cries from buyers and sellers receded like the ebbing tide until he could no longer hear anything. Shen Qiao didn't need to open his eyes to know that he was still standing in the same place. He hadn't switched locations all of a sudden. But around him, faintly felt an invisible force, and its incessant interface whispered to him, trying to impart upon him the false perception that he was somewhere else. It was a profoundly enigmatic experience. When one's internal energy grew powerful enough, they could influence the ambiance of their surroundings, disorienting others and confusing their senses. Obviously, they'd chosen to announce their presence like this in order to put psychological pressure on Shen Qiao. But he sensed no hostility from them, so he didn't move. There came the delicate tinkling of jade pendants. At times, the sound seemed distant, as if drifting from about 5 kilometers over, and at other times, near, as if only a few steps away. It reached him from all directions, omnipresent and pervasive, clung to him like a shadow to its master, or wrought to the bone. The sound of jade striking jade was crisp and musical, but even such a lovely sound, given enough time, would unsettle and disturb its listeners. Shen Qiao clutched his bamboo cane and remained motionless. His head lowered, his eyes closed as if he'd fallen asleep. And then, without warning, he moved. His cane thrust forward with a lightning speed, too swift to parry. His body swept forward with a thrust like an arrow springing from a bow, cutting a figure completely different from his normal sickly one. Like a leopard that had been spotting its chance, he pounced at his target with unerring precision. The bamboo cane seemed to lunge at empty space. There was clearly nothing there, but the cane, charged with internal energy and transformed into an arc of light, struck that point and an invisible barrier around the area shattered and collapsed, and the noise that had cut off the cane cascading back all at once. "And which esteemed master is this? Why not show yourself?" said Shen Qiao. "I have waited a long time at Lin Chuan Academy for an honored guest, but he never appeared. So I had to come here and personally invite him myself. Please forgive my rudeness just now." The voice, warm and kindly, approached from afar. The person in question didn't try to conceal the sound of their footfalls. They came step by step, clear as a bell, and each one sounded brightly, ringing right against Shen Qiao's heart. Shen Qiao knew this was the result of internal energy combined with an illusory technique. Just like how they'd muted all the noise, this too was meant to intimidate him from the start. "So, it was Academy Master Ruyan," he said. "I heard a lot about you. This humble Taoist is fortunate to finally meet you today." For a second, I thought it was going to be Song Jing, but then I forgot that we still have the match against Yan Wushi and Ruyan. He was the head of the Confucian sects, as well as one of the top 3 martial artists in the world. And so Ruyan Kehui's reputation resounded throughout the land. But his dress was very simple. Cloth robes and shoes, his hair also bound with a cloth ribbon. His appearance was plain and unassuming as well. In a crowd, he'd look like any other ordinary middle-aged man. He wouldn't draw any attention at all. But at this moment, walking across the street, his pace even, languid, and full of confidence, no one could doubt his identity. For very few people in the world had bearing as magnificent as his. When word of the Taoist Grandmaster Qi's departure arrived, I was also secluded in cultivation and unable to send my condolences. Only after I left seclusion did I hear the shocking news. Sect Leader Qi was a man of great talent, his martial arts peerless. The entire world admired him, and his sudden passing was truly unexpected. My heart was filled with sorrow and regret beyond words. I hoped that Taoist Master Shen did not lose himself to grief. It was only natural that a martial artist on par with Ruyan Kehui would develop a sense of kinship with Qi Fengge, a kind of bond between martial experts. His words weren't simply overdone flattery, but almost certainly sincere. "So Ruyan's got a thing for Qi Fengge. Yan Wushi has a thing for Qi Fengge. Qi Fengge, he could get it. He could get it." Shen Qiao courteously cupped his hands at him. "On behalf of my master, this humble Taoist thanks Academy Master Ruyan for your kindness. My master once said that though the age he'd lived to might not be very old for Zhantian experts, he felt that if he could die in his pursuit of the ultimate martial arts, it would be well worth it. So please, I ask Academy Master Ruyan to not grieve too much for my late master, for we do not walk our Tao alone, but as one with heaven and earth." Ruyan Kehui sighed. What a wonderful saying, "We do not walk our Tao alone, but one with heaven and earth." Taoist Grandmaster Qi truly was an extraordinary man. He gazed at Shen Qiao. "When I left, the tea house was already boiling some water. I trust that by now the tea is ready. Would Taoist Master Shen be interested in a tour of Lin Chuan Academy?" "This humble Taoist has been in the north far too long," said Shen Qiao. "I'm afraid I haven't yet grown accustomed to southern tea." Few people in all the land could dream of receiving a personal invitation from Ruyan Kehui. To most, it would have been an incomparable honor, and yet Shen Qiao politely refused. Ruyan Kehui smiled minutely and didn't grow angry. Southern tea has its own wonderful charm. It's open and all-encompassing, like a boundless sea that accepts the waters of 100 rivers. Shen Qiao too smiled. "I only fear that I'll be unable to return the courtesy. It would be terribly rude to refuse Academy Master Ruyan's request after drinking your tea. It'd create a ruinous dilemma. The northern kingdoms are vast and abundant, but the southern kingdom is no less so. Once he's tasted Lin Chuan Academy's tea, perhaps this honored guest will find it unbearable to leave, even without his host imploring him to stay." With a claim like that, did Lin Chuan Academy drug all their visitors, and that's why they couldn't bear to leave? Shen Qiao couldn't help it, and he burst out with a chuckle. "Oh my God, Shen Qiao, are you serious? You've been around Yan Wushi far too long." "What is Taoist Master Shen laughing about?" asked Ruyan Kehui curiously. "Do you find my words laughable? Am I funny? Am I a funny guy to you?" Shen Qiao waved his hand. "I apologize for my sudden lack of manners. It has nothing to do with the Academy Master. I ask for your forgiveness." If Yan Wushi were there, he would have spoken his mind, taunting, but obviously that was not Shen Qiao's style. Until today, Ruyan Kehui had never imagined that Shen Qiao would be so stubborn. Logically speaking, a former sect leader who'd lost his position would never cozy up to someone from a demonic sects regardless of his reasons. Rumor had it that Yan Wushi saved Shen Qiao's life and used that to extort him into staying, and that Shen Qiao relied on Yan Wushi for protection. That was maybe true at one time. Ruyan Kehui couldn't believe such unfounded heresy, but Shen Qiao's behavior was beginning to force him to reconsider. I had the fortune of meeting Taoist Grandmaster Qi once before his passing, Ruyan Kehui said. We only conversed for a few days, and yet I felt as if we were old friends. I invited your master to join me in supporting an enlightened ruler in order to return peace and prosperity to the common folk throughout the land. Your master was unwilling to involve Zhandu Mountain in secular affairs, but he supported the idea of proper dynastic succession. That's why he established a 20-year covenant with Hu Lugu. Even though Taoist Master Shen is no longer the sect leader of Zhandu Mountain, you are still Taoist Grandmaster Qi's disciple. Will you truly abandon your master's guiding principles and policies just like that? Academy Master Ruyan is not quite right, said Shen Qiao, leaving aside that my relationship with sect leader Yan is not what others think. Huan Yu sect supports the Zhou dynasty, which flourishes more by the day and grants people its peace and comfort. Are you saying that just because Yuan Yang is of the Zhanbei people, he cannot rule the Central Plains and unite the lands? My master opposed betraying the interests of the Central Plains people by colluding with foreign tribes. But if those same foreigners come to the Central Plains and learn our culture, if they treat themselves and the Han as one and the same, then why can't they be considered enlightened rulers? Ruyan Kehui shook his head, a touch of gravity coloring his tone. No matter how much time passes, foreign barbarians will remain foreign barbarians. They won't change just by entering and settling down in the Central Plains. Look at Qi. The ancestors of the Gao family weren't even from foreign tribes, but they'd been immersed in the northern cultures for too long and completely assimilated to them. Now they lack even a trace of Han etiquette. The Lord of Qi is a capricious fool who allows scoundrels and women to destroy his imperial court. I fear that the Gao family's reign is nearing its end. Meanwhile, Zhou grew powerful due to the Gok Turks. Eventually, they even sought connections through marriage, employing all kinds of tricks to please them. But surely Taoist Master Shen understands very well the dangers the Gok Turks pose to the Central Plains. In the end, Ruyan Kehui believed that the Emperor of Qin was an enlightened ruler who could unite the lands, and he hoped to persuade Shen Qiao to change sides and choose righteousness. His great sincerity was apparent. Despite his rank and status, he'd come here personally. After all, strictly speaking, Shen Qiao had lost the position of sect leader, and his martial arts were far diminished compared to before. He could no longer match Ruyan Kehui in status, so there was no need for Ruyan to ask him in person. And yet here he was. A few months ago, when Shen Qiao had just entered secular society and had little understanding of the ways of the world, such a speech might have moved him. But he'd formed his own opinions now. After listening, he only shook his head and spoke plainly. At the moment, this humble Taoist represents no sect and is only a lone soul wandering the Zhonghu, trying to survive amidst the chaos. Whether I pledge my allegiance presents little significance to either Linchuan Academy or Qin. This humble Shen is infinitely grateful that out of respect for my master, Academy Master Ruyan came to personally advise me today. But all I can do is appreciate your kindness within my heart. Ruyan Kehui heaved a quiet sigh. I can hear from Master Taoist Shen's voice that you have a blockage, probably due to a long unhealed internal injury. If you are willing to recuperate at Linchuan Academy, I can help treat your injuries together with the best doctors in Qin Palace. Shen Qiao had once heard Yan Wushi say that the current empress of Zhao, Liu Jinyan, was Ruyan Kehui's shimei. Hence, Ruyan Kehui was very close to the royal family of Qin. And now it appeared that was the truth. It was impossible for the average person to so casually make a promise on behalf of the royal physicians. Still, Shen Qiao was a little moved that Ruyan Kehui would go as far to make such an overture. Many thanks to Academy Master Ruyan, this Shen is unworthy of this offer. As lacking in virtue and ability as he is, he dares not accept. Truthfully, Ruyan Kehui hadn't for a moment imagined that his expedition today would be a futile exercise because Shen Qiao had no reason to reject him, neither logically nor emotionally. All of a sudden, he recalled those preposterous rumors about Yan Wushi and Shen Qiao's relationship, but he immediately rejected them as so preposterous it was laughable, simply impossible. Very well, he said. Linchuan Academy has never forced things on the unwilling. On Ruyan Kehui's face was a faint look of dismay. Shen Qiao's own expression was apologetic. This humble Taoist is foolish and stubborn. Because of him, the Academy Master's trip here was in vain. Ruyan Kehui smiled. The guest complex isn't far from here, but it'll be difficult to locate for an outlander. The peddler with you has been knocked unconscious. Shall I take you there on his behalf? Academy Master Ruyan must be bored out of his mind with nothing to do. Instead of reminiscing with your Shime, the Empress, you came all the way here to convince Ah Qiao to switch sides. Too bad Ah Qiao is adamant about staying with me. How awfully disappointed you must be. These words, obviously, were not Shen Qiao's. Oh my god! There he is! Looking for any possible reason to get Shen Qiao to go to his place. From the street corner appeared a man, walking in their direction at an even pace. And unlike the ringing jade that Ruyan Kehui had used to herald his arrival, Yan Wushi moved in absolute silence. His robes flapped and furled, yet he was as elegant and assured as ever, as if no one in the world could halt his steps, nor was worth a second of his attention. It was an insolent arrogance, but a silent one. Ruyan Kehui remained unruffled, and the hint of a smile even crept across his face. Now that I think about it, Sect Leader Yan and I haven't seen each other since your seclusion. I see today that your martial arts have indeed progressed by leaps and bounds, covering 1,000 miles a day. Yan Wushi stopped half a step behind Shen Qiao, advancing no further. He sized Ruyan Kehui up briefly with narrowed eyes. Yet you continue to spin in place and have barely improved in 10 years. After that, the two of them spoke no further, only glowered at each other. A passing observer, ignorant of the situation, would probably think that they had some sort of strange, exceptionally intense relationship. Some crack shipper out there is going, Yan Wushi and Ruyan Kehui. Some crack shipper, I'm sure that they're like, there are dozens of us. I'm sure that they exist. Yan Wushi's robes fluttered despite the lack of wind, while the hem of Ruyan Kehui's robe moved nary an inch. Suddenly, Shen Qiao said, if the two of you want to fight, I beg you to do it elsewhere. This is an ordinary civilian here there's an ordinary civilian here who knows nothing of martial arts, and he shouldn't be harmed in the crossfire. He'd just spoken the last word when Ruyan Kehui moved. But he didn't move in Yan Wushi's direction. Rather, he swept off towards the outskirts of the city. His parting line drifted behind him. There is open space outside of the city. The words carried internal energy. Ruyan Kehui's martial prowess was no joke. In an instant, his voice reached half of the Jiangkong, astonishing everyone who heard it. Yan Wushi gave a cold snort, then seemingly moved without moving a muscle. He streaked away as well. Several silhouettes swept behind him right on his heels. All the martial artists who'd heard the commotion were rushing to witness the battle. For this was a battle that was bound to shake the very world. More than a few people had pricked up their ears at Ruyan Kehui's words. Every person in Jiangkong who happened to hear him sat up in surprise and hastened to follow. Even though they didn't know who Ruyan Kehui's opponent was, they knew it had to be someone extraordinary to have warranted a personal invitation. Witnessing such a sensational duel was the opportunity of a lifetime. No one wanted to miss out. So, in the Donghua, Yan Wushi gets struck by the poison needle that that Juju has. But in here, we haven't seen that yet. We don't know that he's been poisoned. We have no clue that that's happened. So interesting that the Donghua shows that, but the novel does not. However, following the combatants to the battlefield wasn't a simple matter. The moment Ruyan Kehui had spoken, he and Yan Wushi had swept out towards the outskirts, one in the lead and one behind. They drifted gracefully, so swift that they only left twin afterman images in the bystanders' eyes, and another blink even those silhouettes had disappeared. Many people with inferior Qinggong could do nothing but gape in the direction they'd gone and then stomp their feet and wring their hands in frustration. Still, a fair number managed to keep up. For example, the Yuhei Guild's leader Dao Yanshan had heard the commotion by sheer fortunate coincidence. He was following right behind them at the moment and was even able to call out to Yan Wushi, "Sect Master Yan, do you remember the trouble you caused our Yuhei Guild the other night in Chuyan Temple where today this Dou wishes to challenge you too?" Not many people in the world were worthy of Yan Wushi's attention, and Dou Yanshan definitely wasn't one of them. It's the moment After Do Yanshan had spoken, he heard Yan Wushi's sneering laugh. I, Yan Wushi, do not fight with nameless juniors. He also channeled internal energy into his words, and they traveled far. Not only did Do Yanshan hear it while he chased after them, but even Shen Qiao, who hadn't moved from the original spot, heard him too. Without a doubt, so did others. Many laughed secretly in their hearts, and the less virtuous ones laughed immediately out loud. Do Yanshan's expression darkened. Few in the Zhongyu had seen Do Yanshan fight. After all, he was the leader of the largest guild in all the land and wielded great status and authority. His would be a terrible failure of a guild if they required him to personally take action on every little thing. Even so, and even if his skills didn't place him in the top 10, he was still a first-rate martial artist. And yet he'd been deemed unworthy by Yan Wushi's attention. The sheer imperious egotism of the man spoke volumes. But Yan Wushi had both the qualifications and the strength, so what could anyone do? Other than Do Yanshan, no one else found his words particularly inappropriate. Do Yanshan stayed in pursuit and shouted again, "Has sect leader Yan even heard the saying pride goeth before the fall?" He channeled 9/10 of his internal energy into that jab. Everyone nearby him was blasted by the shockwaves, their ears buzzing, heads swimming and nauseated. They shuddered involuntarily. They didn't dare look down on Do Yanshan anymore. Shen Qiao didn't give chase. He knew any gap between Yan Wushi and Ruyan Kehui's strength would be minimal. When you were a martial artist of their level, victory or defeat lay not in the slight disparities between internal energy and moves, but in the ability to understand their opponent and seize opportunities when they arose. A hair's breadth of difference was sometimes enough to overturn the outcome. Yan Wushi and Ruyan Kehui knew this well. That's why they threw most of their strength into this fight, if not absolutely all of it. Given Shen Qiao's current abilities, even catching up with him would be difficult, and making the attempt would cost him a great deal of true chi. In any case, a duel between those two was sure to take a while. As long as he went in the direction everyone else had first taken off in, he'd find the location eventually. He wasn't in a rush. First, he'd helped the peddler up and walked him to the end of the street before entrusting him to take care of the other stall keepers. Then he headed for the city gates. He'd just gone through them when he heard Bairong's laugh. "Walking like this, Shenlong? So slow and plodding, how long will it take you to get there?" Shen Qiao raised an eyebrow. "Why hasn't little Bai Niangji gone to watch the fight?" Bairong pouted. "What are we, strangers? You kept calling me little Bai Jiangji, Bai Niangji. If I don't want you to call me Rong Niang, you could at least call me Peony." When she saw Shen Qiao ignore her and carry on walking, she stomped her foot. "Fine! Keep loafing around! Maybe you're not worried, but I'm worried for you. With such a rare battle, many people have put all their into chasing after them. If you get there too late, you won't be able to find a good spot." She reached out to grab Shen Qiao. He was about to flinch away when he heard her sweet cry. "Oh, I'm only taking you there. So why are you dodging? Don't tell me you're still afraid of my flirting." Shen Qiao was left speechless. In his moment of distraction, Bairong grabbed him. Tucking his arm against her side, she applied her qinggong. She soared onward with him effortlessly, no slower than Dao Yanshan had been, like the powerful movements of a swimming dragon. Still, getting a lift from somebody else was much more convenient than walking by yourself, so Shen Qiao expressed his gratitude. Bairong giggled. "Thank yous are so cold. If you want to thank me, how about letting me sleep with you for a night? Yan Wushi hasn't slept with you yet, right? Your body full of primordial yang is the absolute best gift I could receive. Yes, your martial arts have suffered some damage, but I'm not picky. I'll teach you how to paracultivate. Perhaps there's even some hope that you'll recover your strength. There's no need to practice with that nuisance of a Zhuyang strategy anymore." Shen Qiao did not deign to reply. Still, Bairong earnestly went on trying to persuade him. "Well, how about it? It's a deal that benefits us both. I'll gain something and you won't lose anything. Why not think it over, Shenlong?" "No need," said Shen Qiao. "Thank you for your kindness." Bairong pouted but relented. "Who do you think will win and lose in today's battle?" she asked after a while. It was an excellent question. The people who dashed over to spectate were pondering the same question. Some of the well-informed gambling dens in Jiang Kong were probably taking bets right at this moment. Shen Qiao gave it some consideration. "If all goes as expected, Yan Wushi will probably win," he said. Bairong giggled. "You really do look out for your lover. Ruyan Kehui isn't just some puffed up nobody. I infiltrated Lin Chuan Academy once. I wanted to disrupt their lecture the day before it started, but then Ruyan Kehui discovered me and he personally chased me around half of the Jiangkong. I suffered some serious injuries and it took everything I had to escape. Ever since then, I've been too frightened to rashly provoke that guy anymore. A great and honorable grandmaster like him, splitting hairs with a weak woman like me, how petting and unbecoming of him. You're not a weak woman, thought Shen Qiao. Furthermore, you are the one who snuck into someone else's territory. If they let you come and go as you wish, then what's the point of Linchuan Academy's gates? Might as well let people barge in every day. As Bai Rong pulled him along, the stockings on her feet gathered nary a speck of dust. Her speed never slowed in the slightest, and she spoke with no shortness of breath. How I see it, even Chi Fengge and Chui Yuwang came back to life. If they came back to life, Ruyan Kehui might be their match. And this time the duel will be back in Jiang Kong's outskirts, so he'll be on familiar ground. Your dear lover may not be able to win. Back in the beginning, when people had misunderstood Shen Qiao and Yan Wushi's relationship, Shen Qiao had still felt the urge to explain, but later he realized that such explanations were completely unnecessary. People believed what they wanted to believe. Whether he explained it or not had no effect on their self-serving misunderstandings. And when it came to someone like Bai Rong, who was purely messing around, deliberately misunderstanding in order to tease him, Shen Qiao could be bothered even less. He simply let her words breeze past him like the wind. Bai Rong heaved a sweet-sounding at his non-reaction and said no more. After leaving the city and traveling about 15 kilometers, going from field to forest and then from forest to another road north, they arrived at a stream at the bottom of a canyon. Here they saw two silhouettes in the distance, standing upon mountain cliffs and dueling atop the sheer walls. The ground beneath their feet was no more than a few rocky crags jutting up from the precipice, some no longer than a handspan. An ordinary person would have been terrified to the core just looking at them, let alone standing on top in the middle of a duel. A moment of carelessness could mean a straight plummet down. But, however, Ruyan Kehui and Yan Wushi were not ordinary people. As they darted about, their movements showed no hint of awkwardness or hesitation. Instead, they flowed as smoothly as drifting clouds or a babbling stream. It was almost impossible to see them alighting on the stones at all. Their figures soared and flitted, their true chi flooding the surroundings and sending fire rebel flying. Where the blast from their palms struck, clouds seemed to billow from their sleeves as waves. The height of men swelled. It was a dazzling sight to behold. Agitated by their true chi, the waters that once flowed south instantly became a surging fountain. Borrowing its momentum, Yan Wushi guided the spout. Combining its water with the spring water's finger technique, he transformed the stream into 1,000 razor-sharp blades that swept through Ruyan Kehui. From where Shen Qiao and Bai Rong stood, the towering spray, churned up by internal energy, seemed to swallow Ruyan whole. Though Bai Rong strained to see, she could only discern a few blurred shadows and was completely unable to spot exactly where Ruyan Kehui would appear, or from where he'd launch his counterattack. The mountain gales were strong to begin with. These, combined with the two fighters using the most of their internal energy, created two powerful airflows that met within the canyon, twisting together into a giant vortex. The tempest was so fearsome that the river's flow reversed, while the mighty winds coursed into robes, causing them to swell and rustle. Bai Rong had no desire to channel her own internal chi to block the currents. If she tried and found her internal energy was weaker than her gale, she'd only end up hurting herself. All she could do was go on enduring the torment that buffeted her, lashing her with vapor and loose leaves. Turning her head, she saw that Shen Qiao had lifted up his sleeves in front of his face to shield himself from all the vapor and dust that was pelting him. Bai Rong was about to tease him, to ask how he meant to watch the match like that, but then she recalled that he couldn't see anyway. Are you listening to them duel? She had to ask, curious. What can you hear? I can hear the flow of their true chi, said Shen Qiao. And if I'm not wrong, Academy Master Ruyan is about to draw his sword. How do you know? Asked Bai Rong. Shen Qiao smiled but said nothing. Just then Bai Rong looked up to see Ruyan Kehui with a single stroke of his sword slice through the watery trap that Yan Wushi had fashioned for him. Overwhelming Yan Wushi's technique with his superior force, the sword glare shattered the massive stream that Yan Wushi had churned up with his true chi. It dispersed, the spray cascading down all around them like flowers scattered by a celestial maiden or a mighty downpour. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. Cool. So you can see Ruyan like taking the sword and slicing down through his water. Nice. Okay. Okay. At the sight of it, Bai Rong couldn't resist the urge to show off. See, isn't the location I chose excellent? We even have cover overhead, she gloated. Meanwhile, those other people can't choose a decent viewing spot, and they dare not let us use our true chi to protect themselves, so they get splashed full in the face. The nearby battle continued, with the one combatant armed with a sword and the other barehanded. Sword glares engulfed the canyon, suspending and overturning the water, but inside the tumult, Yan Wushi skated about with ease. His hands seemed to be making no specific moves. Instead, they adhered to the 4 basic gestures: pinch, swipe, gather, and flick. He remained brash and carefree, never a step behind. Bairong's brow knitted in a slight frown. He doesn't seem to be using the spring water's finger technique. It is the spring water's finger technique, said Shen Qiao, only transformed. Though it's only 1 finger technique, there are thousands of possible variations, but they're all still the same finger technique. Academy Master Ruyan's swordplay is the same. If you watch closely, all he's using is the same move over and over, but that one move is enough to convey every possibility. Stalwart and infallible, it's capable of fending off thousands of enemies. Bairong stared with rapt attention for some time, then realized he was right. Despite herself, her perception of Shen Qiao had lifted again. Everyone knew about Shen Qiao's former identity, but because of his loss to Kunye, they all doubted his martial abilities. They couldn't help but feel that not only did he fail to match up to Qi Fengge, but he may even count amongst the top 10 besides. Though Bairong had suffered a loss to him too before, she too had always seen him as a frail, sickly, unable to keep up for long, and likely to collapse at any moment. As he spoke now, she understood that a grandmaster was ultimately still a grandmaster. His observations alone far surpassed those of the average person. You say that Yan Wushi would win, but you didn't say why. Bairong leaned towards them. Her orchid-scented breath fanned over his ear. Supporting himself against a rock face, Shen Qiao shuffled a step to the side. Bairong made no comment. Very seriously, Shen Qiao told her, I don't like such things. If you keep doing this, I won't talk to you anymore. Bairong forced a laugh. What's all this? I haven't even touched you, yet you're more prudish than a virgin maiden. She reached out a hand towards Shen Qiao. Sorts like you and Qing aside, when a lovely, peerless beauty like her wanted to seduce someone, even normal men with no interest in philandering fell to her charms. Even if they weren't totally smitten, they at least felt a certain intoxication blooming in their hearts. But Shen Qiao was an exception. While she wasn't daring enough to test herself against a first-rate martial artist like Yan Wushi or Ruyan Kehui, she'd still been frustrated countless times by Shen Qiao. Her outstretched hand was blocked by Shen Qiao's bamboo cane. His expression sank like a stone in water, becoming severe, and he spoke not a single word. Bairong knew that he was keeping his word, and she was both a little angry and a little regretful. She tamped it down and said nothing. In the space of a moment, Yan Wushi and Ruyan Kehui had exchanged thousands of blows, but neither one showed a hint of fatigue. Their battle took them from one end of the canyon to the other, as all the sun gradually traveled west. The fighters knew nothing of the time, and the spectators too completely lost themselves in the fight. Noon passed without anyone noticing. The combatants had begun dueling for more than 4 hours, but victor and loser had yet to emerge. Bairong's skills put her among the first rate of the Zhanghu, but there was still much for her to learn from this fierce battle. It was on a level she had never seen before. Today it was like a mighty gate had just cracked open, allowing her to peek through to the scenery inside. Though it was only a crack, it was enough to shake her down to her core. She finally knew what separated her from the grandmasters, and why she'd never been able to cross that gulf all this time. Her martial arts were only martial arts, and while Yan Wushi and Ruyan Kehui's martial arts had become part of their bodies, in every inhale and exhale, their every pull and release. When they inhaled, their world shrank down to a point. When they exhaled, 100 streams flowed back to the source. When they pulled, they drew in the sun, the moon, and the wind, and when they released, the land itself sprang forth in acres. Bairong watched, completely enchanted. Unwittingly, she murmured, will I ever reach their level in my lifetime? This time, Shen Qiao actually answered, you're very talented. Bairong thought about her cultivation methods. For some reason, her mood suddenly fell, becoming bleak. I can't cultivate using their path. And my path, they disdain it, she said, self-deprecating. From the great Tao springs forth many thousand paths, said Shen Qiao. Some are fast, some are slow, but none are better than any other. Bairong smiled at him sweetly. Weren't you angry at me just now, saying you wouldn't speak to me? But now you're speaking to me again. If you talk about proper things, naturally I'll give you proper answers, said Shen Qiao. Rong tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Even this little movement of hers oozed endless charm. Unfortunately, her companion was blind, so there's no one to appreciate it. I keep forgetting he's still blind, and thus he wouldn't see it. Oh, since you gave me a kernel of guidance just now, I'll return you the favor. I told you before that you should stay away from Yan Wushi, and you must take these words to heart, Shenlong. Don't just treat them like they are the passing wind, or else you'll end up in a dying, pointless death. Someone like you dying in your prime without ever experiencing sex? That'd be such a pity. Shen Qiao frowned. Could you clarify what you mean? Rong smiled brightly. I can't. Even just warning you is a huge risk to this one. But if you refuse to take it to heart, there's nothing she can do. Then she made a sound of surprise. Oh, they're finished? While they'd spoken, the two silhouettes abruptly separated, each landing atop a random protrusion in the cliff face. Rong seemed a little confused. Was it a draw? Even if she couldn't tell, then very few of the scene. If she couldn't tell, then very few of the scene could. The whispers of spectators rose up around them, all discussing the same question: had Ruyan Kehui won or Yan Wushi? Or rather, what they really wanted to ask: could Ruyan Kehui really defeat Yan Wushi? Oh, one more chapter. Oh, rescue, chapter 41. Okay. When she noticed Shen Qiao keeping silent, Rong turned to look at him. Shenlong, you couldn't tell either? Shen Qiao shook his head but didn't answer. After a moment, Ruyan Kehui's voice drifted from afar, echoing across the distance, resounding loudly enough to shake the canyon. The eardrums of those assembled jolted as well. It's been a long time since I dueled someone to the fullest, he said. Contending with Sect Leader Yan today has been a great joy. I'm deeply grateful for Sect Leader Yan's wonderful guidance. If you huddle in a corner for too long, you'll lose sight of the wider world, said Yan Wushi. Just like a frog in a well or a leopard in a cage. You're so accustomed to playing Overlord in Southern Qin, Academy Master Ruyan, and when you finally met an equal opponent, you were taken by surprise. My venerable self understands this very well. Once you receive guidance a few more times, the surprise will wear off. As always, whenever Yan Wushi opened his mouth, sarcastic comments streamed out. Hearing them was enough to make any listener grit their teeth. But with the way he stood upon the cliff face, hands clasped behind his back and robes dancing, the assembled spectators simply had to look up to him as well. His achievements in martial arts, his incredible strength, many understood they'd never reach such heights. It was human nature to admire those of great strength. If anyone claimed they felt no trace of admiration for the egotistical Huan Yu sect leader who had the power to warrant such an ego, they'd be lying. Ruyan Kehui, however, took all this in stride. He laughed. All right, then someday when the chance arises, I'll personally seek out your guidance. There was nothing odd about Ruyan Kehui's voice, and Yan Wushi seemed the same as always too. The spectators grew confused. They couldn't detect any signs of injuries through the combatants' words. The two of them had spent more than half a day's worth of energy, and yet neither of them was injured and neither of them had won? They puzzled over it. This once-in-a-lifetime duel between two martial experts had seriously ended in a draw? Some of them had also been at Bamboo Peak, where they'd witnessed Kehui throwing Shen Qiao off the cliff. Even though the Gokturk's victory left them unhappy and made them mourn the defeat of one of their own, an intense battle warranted such an intense conclusion. Today's duel had been with such great martial greats like Ruyan Kehui and Yan Wushi. It should have been on an even higher level, and yet it ended like this? They couldn't help but find it disappointing. But neither Yan Wushi nor Ruyan Kehui needed to explain their actions to others. After a brief exchange of words, they floated down from the cliff. One landed by the creek, and the other on the rocky beach not far from Shen Qiao and Rong. Ruyan Kehui courteously cupped his hands at Yan Wushi. As Sect Leader Yan has come from afar, I ought to do my part as host. How many days does Sect Leader intend to stay in Jiangkong? Let me know, and I can have Linchuan Academy send you an invitation to be our guest. No need, said Yan Wushi indifferently. I can't stomach the water at your Linchuan Academy. I fear I'll come away with a belly full of your doctrines on virtue and morality. You should save those for fooling brainless men and witless women. Ruyan Kehui smiled and didn't force the issue. Then I'll take my leave now. Oh! With a flick of his sleeves, he turned and departed. His strides appeared ordinary, but he moved great distances in the blink of an eye. It was truly profound as a technique, and even swift people could only stare tongue-tied at the dust left behind. With a long sigh did I wipe my tears at the lives of men weighed down by troubles and despair. Though self-discipline and moral purity I do adore, my morning advice begets naught but evening scorn. First they attacked the cymbidium I wear, then castigated my love for plucking orchids so fair. For the ideals I pursue within my heart, I do not regret 1,000 deaths to die. The sound of singing drifted from afar. Ruyan Kehui was reciting Li Sao. The song flowed in his southern accent, resounding through the valley, and the sorrow of the original transformed into valor, rousing the spirit of every listener. It seemed like Ruyan Kehui's abilities hadn't suffered from his match with Yan Wushi at all, many thought. Not long ago, Do Yanshan had issued a challenge to Yan Wushi in front of everyone, but after watching their match, he turned and left without a word. A couple of troublemakers were displeased at how the Liu Guild dominated everything, and one of them shouted after him, "Didn't Guild Leader Do want to challenge Sect Leader Yan to a duel? Why are you leaving so soon?" Do Yanshan stopped in his tracks and turned back, shooting the man a glare that sent shivers through the heart. "The dragon who crosses rivers, Liu. Perhaps I'm not a match for Sect Leader Yan, but I'm more than enough to handle you. Do you believe me?" said Do, with a hint of a smile on his face. Liu hadn't thought Do Yanshan would call him out by name. He didn't dare say anything more, and he quickly scuttled away with his tail tucked between his legs. Yan Wushi gazed at Ruyan Kehui's silhouette as it glided off into the distance. Then he flew straight to the treetops of the bamboo forest. Using the long, slim branches to spring forward, he finally landed on the sheer cliff wall where they'd fought and started to climb, his movements as graceful as a falcon's. A couple of breaths later, he was already out of sight. With the main characters gone, there was no point in lingering. One by one, the spectators all left, each still thinking it was a pity, although it was difficult to say whether the pity was the drawl or the fact that they were unlikely to witness a duel of such caliber again. Before the battle, most people had believed that no matter how strong Yan Wushi was, Ruyan Kehui was still a notch above him. After all, while Yan Wushi was one of the top 10, Ruyan Kehui ranked in the top 3. But after today, they'd no longer dare to think so. Yan Wushi's reputation would surely soar to new heights, and the battle would soon become a hot topic. If all went as expected, it would be the Zhang Hu's most spectacular battle in years. At some point, Bai Rong, who had been standing beside Shen Qiao, had vanished without a trace. She came and went like a shadow, even left without a goodbye. Shen Qiao didn't chase after her, nor did he retrace his steps down the road he had taken. Instead, he squinted for a long while, as if scrutinizing something, and then left along another small path. By now, the sky had darkened completely. The mountain winds grew colder after nightfall, although it was April, summer hadn't yet taken hold. Through the cracks in the canyon walls, the gales howled and wailed like the weeping of ghosts. The summit of this mountain was somewhat similar to Bamboo Peak, where Shen Qiao and Kunie's match had taken place. It was not as tall, but there was a little foothold at the peak. The ground there was treacherously narrow. Only a scant few trees grew there. Their branches rustled in the night wind, too scraggly and thin for anyone to lean on, let alone to use as protection from the night winds. But when one crossed over the cliff top and went a little down the other side, they'd find a sunken hole that formed a cave, large enough to accommodate 3 or 4 people. With a rocky wall against one's back and a stone ledge hanging overhead, it was a natural shelter from the wind. And inside this cave sat the cross-legged silhouette of a man. When Liu entered, the man didn't move at all, as if he was dead. "Sect Leader Yan?" he asked, questioning. If someone else heard him, the name surely would have given them a fright. Yan Wushi and Ruyan Kehui had clearly left long before. Why would Sect Leader Yan reappear in this mountainous cave? Liu called his name several more times, but there was no reaction from Yan Wushi. His nerve grew and he crept closer. Step by step, he groped inside the lapels for a torch and then lit it. He shone the firelight at where Yan Wushi was sitting. The man almost looked like a high monk who'd passed away in self-mummification, as immovable as a bedrock. Even the flickering torchlight couldn't make him open his eyes. Joy suffused Liu's heart. He was so excited even his hands began to tremble imperceptibly. He was only a second-rate martial artist, but he'd come from a long line of constables, and his judgment was keen. From a young age, he'd been influenced by his father and grandfather, and had developed a habit of observing the subtlest of details. Everyone believed Ruyan Kehui and Yan Wushi's strength was equal, that their final draw was a pity. However, Liu did not see things that way. It was a battle that lasted from the day into the night, and both sides had given, if not their all, at least 8 or 9/10 of it. There was no doubting it. Where they'd fought most ferociously, the mountain stones had been shattered into powder. Boulders half the size of men splintered into gravel in mere seconds. The river waters temporarily reversed, and the surrounding trees snapped clean in two. In the face of such enormous might, the spectators hadn't dared to even block their internal chi. With just how much destructive power there'd been, could both combatants really have walked away without a scratch? Even a peerless expert like Qifengge eventually met their death. There was always some chance of injury, as long as they weren't true immortals, entirely disconnected from the world. Though Ruyan Kehui and Yan Wushi both acted as if nothing had happened, Li Yu's intuition had told him the conclusion was not so simple. His martial arts would never catch up to those two, but when the others had left, he stayed to wander through the surroundings and even scaled the cliff for a closer look. During the duel, the combatants had stopped for a moment on the peak, and no one knew what had happened during that time. For half a day, Liu did nothing but search, but in the end he found nothing. He was just about to leave, thinking that once again he was overthinking things when he came upon the cave. And inside was Yan Wushi. It truly was a great surprise from the heavens. Liu tried to calm himself down, but he couldn't suppress the trembling in his hands, which had his torch shaking. Its firelight wavered unsteadily inside the cave, casting an inexplicable, treacherous pall over the place. He was certain that Yan Wushi must have been injured and was here to recuperate. Furthermore, for Yan Wushi to remain unaware even as Liu approached, it must be in no light wound. If he could kill Yan Wushi, display his corpse for everyone to see, then in the space of a night his name would resound through the entire land. And then everyone in the land would know that the one who'd killed the Demon Lord wasn't the Lin Chuan Academy Master Ruyan Kehui, but the dragon who crosses rivers, Liu himself. In his extreme elation, he failed to give a thought to the troubles that would follow. For example, if he truly killed Yan Wushi, how would he deal with Huan Yu's sect, who would certainly come after his head? And how would he make the world believe that a second-rate fellow like him had managed to kill the Yan Wushi when even Ruyan Kehui couldn't? But Liu didn't consider any of this. The temptation of success and fame had flooded his mind, and involuntarily he drew his sword at the waist. The sword's point advanced inch by inch. The Demon Lord, so proud and vigorous earlier that day, was now right in front of him, dead to the world and completely at his mercy. In the throes of his excitement, there was a twisted cast to his expression, then suddenly his face froze. Liu stared, wide-eyed, at the bamboo cane that had appeared without warning, and was blocking his sword point. Slowly and stiffly he raised his head, gazing at the cane's owner, who had soundlessly appeared. To take advantage of the misfortune of others is not the act of an upright man. If you do this, your martial arts will never advance an inch in your life, said Shen calmly. Leave. Oh, so that's how we get to it. That's how we get to it. All right, okay. Ooh, okay. What do you know? Snarled Liu. I was 15 when I entered the Zhonghu. People called me talented too back in my youth, but after I turned 25, my martial arts progress stopped completely. If I take Yan Wushi's head, my name will surely shake the Zhonghu. Shen shook his head. If you kill him, will your martial arts advance? This is only the envy the weak feel towards the strong. When the chance for power over them is dangled before you, you're overwhelmed with excitement. Don't give your inner demons power over you, or your martial arts will never improve again for the rest of your life. By now, Liu was thoroughly enraged. You blind man! Why are you getting involved? Shen Qiao, don't think that no one recognizes you. Everyone in the Zhonghu knows about your collusion with Yan Wushi. Even Zhongdu Mountain has expelled you from its doors. You've lost all face for Qifengge, the disciple of the world's #1 martial artist. Pah! You're only a sycophant who sold your body to the Demon Lord in return for his favor. Have you found enjoyment in being a slave? Afraid that if I kill Yan Wushi, no one will protect you anymore? If you're a man, then show some spine. Don't just lean on other people. The words did not stoke Shen Qiao's anger. Ever since his identity had been exposed at the Su residence during the fight against Duan Wenyang, a strange light had resurfaced in many of the looks people gave him. Though they might not say so out loud, deep down, their thoughts were much like Liu's. Shen Qiao had heard far worse. Still, Sharp words were only words. As long as they paid no mind, they couldn't hurt you in the slightest. Seeing Shen Qiao silent, Li Yu thought that the insults he'd slung had worked. He gave a sneering laugh. Taoist Master Shen, if you get out of my way, then I'll kill Yan Wushi and we can divide up whatever goods he has on him. As he spoke, he thrust out with his sword. The sword's glare flashed as it shot at blistering speed. It was a move that Li Yu was quite proud of, strong enough to pierce through wood, and the attack went straight for Yan Wushi's upper back. Clang! An echoing ring sounded. The blade point did not stab into Yan Wushi. Instead, the entire sword was sent flying. It arched through the air before clattering right to the ground. All Li Yu felt was a sharp pain in his wrist, and he cried out despite himself. His reaction was swift, too. At the sight of the bamboo cane sweeping towards his waist, he dropped into a crouch while tipping his torso backward, dodging beneath the cane's swipe. Then he sprang upward, making a grab for the cane while sending a kick at Shen Qiao's groin. But Shen Qiao had already drifted out of reach, immediately reappearing behind him with unbelievable speed. Li Yu didn't even have time to react before a palm to his back slapped him sideways into a stone wall and knocked him unconscious. Underestimating Shen Qiao was not to blame for Li Yu's defeat, for even if he hadn't, he was destined to lose today. News of Shen Qiao and Duan Wenyang's duel at the Su residence had never circulated, and the people who'd lost to him, like Bai Rong and Zhao Se, couldn't possibly run around announcing their losses. So many impressions of him had remained frozen at the match on Bamboo Peak, and then afterward had come the myriad of rumors and hearsay. As a result, opinions of Shen Qiao had plummeted. The more someone had looked up to him before, the more they looked down on him after. Overnight, Shen Qiao's name became linked to Yan Wushi's, and on top of that, was now synonymous with homeless cur. Shen Qiao didn't bother with Li Yu anymore. He just walked on towards Yan Wushi. When he touched him, a burst of frigid cold pierced through the skin of his palm and into his flesh, almost invasive as it spread through his limbs and body. The chill was so intense he immediately let go, and even so, it clung to his hand for a long while before gradually fading away. Yan Wushi's body wasn't only as solid and hard as ice, it seemed practically devoid of life. It was as if his 5 senses were completely sealed, as if that was why he'd remained entirely unaware of Shen Qiao and Li Yu's conversation as well as their scuffle. Shen Qiao thought for a moment, and then he pulled Yan Wushi's hand from his sleeve to examine his pulse, all the while enduring that bone-piercing cold. The pulse still throbbed, and breath still fanned beneath his nose. But his meridians seemed to be in disorder, as if several streams of qi were all weaving, jostling, and colliding against each other discordant. In other words, Yan Wushi was showing signs of qi deviation. How do they describe it in this series? To a situation where one's cultivation enters a dangerous, highly volatile state, heavily damaging to the body and can be fatal. The more advanced someone's martial arts, the longer the road they traveled on their way to the top. And then, all the more inevitable, they'd find all kinds of higher pursuits along the way. This meant they became less willing to follow convention, and so the chance of them entering qi deviation likewise increased. Interesting, we're going to talk about that in the discussion. Peerlessly talented grandmasters like Qi Fengge, Shui Yuwang, and Hu Lugu could have lived long lives and died natural deaths if they'd chosen a peaceful existence. Any of them could have easily managed another 10 years. But they refused to pause in their pursuit of martial studies, and for to them, that would be a punishment worse than death. And after reaching each new level, attempting the next step was a tantamount to scaling the sky. A single moment of carelessness would have easily pushed them into a qi deviation and endangered their lives. In truth, Shen Qiao had discovered Yan Wushi's current dilemma a long time ago. The difference between demonic cores and Taoist ones laid in their contrasting paths. Just like heaven and earth, black and white, they could never intersect. Even Sui Yuang, the former top martial artist of the demon sects, never attempted to join the two cores. Nobody had, not in thousands of years. But Yan Wushi's very nature demanded that. In his endless pursuit of martial arts, he tried all the things others thought were impossible. Hence, during his years of seclusion, he not only had finished practicing all the martial arts recorded inside the Zhuyang strategy scrolls, he'd also used the Zhuyang strategy's true qi to forge a set of new foundations for himself, a Taoist core. No matter how powerful a person was, their body could only house one set of foundations. But Yan Wushi aspired to have both a demonic and a Taoist core coexist inside of him, to fashion a Taoist core while retaining his demonic one. Of course, this was impossible. How could one house both a demonic and Taoist core inside their body at the same time? Which was why, for 10 years, Yan Wushi did not succeed. Even though his abilities grew by leaps and bounds, and although he'd become the martial artist that could rival the likes of Qi Fengge, he still could not overcome that hurdle. Instead, his efforts left a lurking peril inside of him. Normally, it wasn't obvious, but during his fight with Ruyan Kehui today, both sides had been forced to go all out, and so this inner peril had been dragged to the surface. Shen Qiao frowned deeply. He tried to send his true chi into Yan Wushi's body, but it seemed to reject him. Not only that, but it lashed back at him with a surge of icy chi which rampaged through Shen Qiao's body. In an instant, it spread to all his meridians. Shen Qiao jolted and was forced to let go of Yan Wushi's hand to focus on himself. He sat down to regulate his breathing, trying to dissolve the frigid burst of chi. The moon was cold and bleak, the mountains silent and empty. Owls hooted again and again, sending a shock of desolation right through to his bones. The balmy coolness of early summer was nowhere to be found. Li Yu's torch had already burned out. Shen Qiao stood and walked towards the fallen man, hoping to find another few torches in his body that he could light and warm himself with. Shenlong, this one is sitting outside for so long, and you didn't even invite her in. You don't know how to take care of a lady at all. The sound of complaining reached his ears, and a face appeared outside the cave, looking both pleased and annoyed. Shen Qiao wasn't surprised, nor did he answer. Smiling brightly, Rong invited herself in. I waited outside for so long, all because I was afraid that Sect Leader Yan might wake up. Shenlong, let's make a deal. You didn't want to give Li Yu a shot because he was too ugly, so why not give me that shot? I refuse, said Shen Qiao. Rong started at a loss for how to react. This one hasn't even finished yet. How can you refuse her already? Shen Qiao felt around on Li Yu's body and found 2 more torches. He lit one, and the fire's glow immediately illuminated half the cave. Rong shifted ever so slightly, reappearing at Yan Wushi's side in an instant. She raised a palm high and aimed it at his head, but she was blocked by Shen Qiao, who somehow had appeared there as well. They quickly exchanged dozens of blows inside the cramped cave. Hewan Sect was known and famous for their charm techniques and paracultivation, but their martial abilities were no less potent than the likes of Huan Yu's sect and Fa Jing's sect. Although she was young, Rong's grasp of martial arts was already spectacular. She used Song Jingjing's set of footwork techniques, 16 steps from heaven to abyss, coupled with her palm techniques, so that the variations in her moves became endless and unpredictable, almost impossible to defend against. She knew that Shen Qiao was not someone that she could subdue by herself, so she launched a preemptive attack in a bid to finish things quickly. She executed more than 10 palm strikes in the blink of an eye. Combined with her ever-changing, unpredictable footwork, it was as if she was striking at Shen Qiao from every direction all at once. She even giggled as she attacked. Shenlong, you were so sly. Last time we fought, you mimicked Yan Wushi's spring water fingers technique and gave me such a scare. Now that I've seen through you, you can't scare me anymore. Shen Qiao didn't speak. His current martial art abilities put him just above or equal to Rong, which meant under normal circumstances, neither of them could do anything to the other, and perhaps Rong was even the slightest bit stronger. During their last encounter, Rong's fear of his finger attack had given him an opening to exploit, but there wouldn't be a second time. Rong was clever and had learned better. She might have been all smiles and gentle words when speaking to Shen Qiao before, but when it came time to take action, she showed not one shred of mercy. Rong had observed from outside for a while because she couldn't tell if Yan Wushi had really entered chi deviation, but thanks to the commotion Li Yu had cooked up, she was able to confirm her suspicions. And now that she wanted to kill Yan Wushi, Shen Qiao was her biggest obstacle. Shenlong, didn't you feel sorry for my situation in Heiwan Sect? If I kill Yan Wushi, I'll have eliminated a great enemy for them, and from then on, no one in Heiwan Sect will dare look down on me. This one does not need to do anything at all. Just stand aside and watch. Simpler than lifting a finger. Yet you won't do this one little thing? Rong's eyes were soulful as she pleaded and wheedled, but her attacks didn't let up for an instant. Shenlong, was Yan Wushi truly kind to you? He might have saved you, but he only sees you as a plaything, a way to indulge his little hobby of messing with people. You have a gentle nature, so you repay every kindness you receive 10 times over. But if he was truly kind to you, why does he leave you in danger time and again? It can't be that. You've truly fallen for the Demon Lord, can it? If you let me kill Yan Wushi, I'll do everything I can to help you recover your martial arts and regain your position on Jeondu Mountain sect as the sect leader. Isn't having power within your grasp 100 times better than being forced to depend on others? That's where we're going to leave off at? What? Oh my gosh. Oh man, this was a good chapter sect. Well, that is a big old tease. I was really getting into reading this chapter set, and then it was over. When I listen to audio drama, the audio drama is the biggest tease as well, because it goes on like an extra 30 seconds, and right where the chapter ends is right about when Yan Wushi is going to wake up, and then the audio drama has him waking up, and that's it. And it's like, how dare they? So we're going to have to wait till next week. Well, I'm going to record in the next few days because I've got a trip to go on, but it's going to be chapters 42, 43, and 44 is going to be next week to get into that, but dang it. I gave Whiteboard Kun a break because I really didn't feel like there was, most of this chapter set, which I was really pleased with, was focusing on the battle between Ruyan and Yan Wushi, and then what happened afterwards. And a lot of, as I throw this to my dog, where'd it go? Where did it go, Huckleberry? I don't know. Ruby took it. Occasionally Ruby gets tired of him. Ruby gets tired of his shenanigans, and she just takes the ball from him. And it's great. But anyway, so basically, this was mainly conversations between Qiao and Rong, which I really liked and appreciated. It was about Yan Wushi and Ruyan's battle, and then establishing that, yes, Yan Wushi has gone in chi deviation. Couple things about this chapter set right off the bat before we even dive into it. I liked the novel's handling of all of this better than the Donghua. And I liked the Donghua a lot. So I think that says something. What I liked about it was how fluid it was. Like, we had the peddler, we had the conversation with Rong, we had Ruyan showing up, we had Yan Wushi. What was really noticeable in this chapter set compared to the Donghua is that the author at this point, Meng Shishi, she is not in any way attempting to explain what's going on with Yan Wushi. And I feel like the Donghua, not anything against the Donghua, I love it, but I feel like they were trying to explain that Yan Wushi had been struck by the needle. Like, we don't have that happening yet. That's not happened yet in the novel, or it's not been told to us. Whereas in the Donghua, we know he had been struck by the needle, and that's why he was a little bit like, I think that's right. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what got him into going into the chi deviation. And there's been no talk about the 9th level of Phoenix descending. Nobody's talked about that. So we haven't had the needle thing with Juju. We haven't had, although we've previewed the needles with Rong in this chapter set. And then we haven't had the discussion about the 9th level of Phoenix descending. That's not come up yet. It's not come up that all of the people are plotting against Yan Wushi, although it's very assumed because nobody likes him, and the novel has done a good job of establishing that nobody likes Yan Wushi. So there's that, but there is a lot of mystery behind Yan Wushi in these chapters, and we just get it from Shen Chao's perspective, which I thought was really interesting. I thought it was worth noting. I liked it. I thought it was good. So yeah, I was all about it. I'm like, yes, let's keep doing that. I like it. But yeah, so we had started out the chapter 39, Meeting Beneath the Moonlight. I feel as if in the Donghua, I know that Shen Qiao met with Rong and most of their conversation happened, but in the Donghua, he was like walking through a restaurant or walking through a building, and she met him at the end of it instead of on the wall, and the way that it was presented was a little differently. And then I don't think she had knocked out the peddler in the Donghua. I don't even think he was there. I think though that she, in the audio drama, she's like, oh, Ruyan's here already, like things are being planned out, and it's like, I feel like the Donghua over explains a little bit because it only has so much time to work with, and the novel, since it knows it has more time spread out, does not feel the need to tell you every little thing that happens, which I really appreciated. But in any case, we established a little bit of, I'm going to be real with you all. I'm going to be so for real with you all. I don't keep up with a lot of like the Northern, I get the Northern Zhou and the Qing, I get the capitals and stuff, but the geography and everything, I've not kept up with too much. I mean, I know enough to get by, but I've not been taking hyper details of it because I don't think it will be relevant. I mean, I think that it'll be relevant, but I won't need to know it for a specific reason. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I feel like the setting, I don't know, sometimes in Danmai, I feel like the settings and stuff, it comes into play, but you don't have to take immediate knowledge of it. I mean, there's a lot. It's very dense politically in this book, and it's hard for me to keep track of it all. So I'm like, I'm doing well with the characters and with the cultivation and the Zhuyong strategy and everything else. But we'll just note that Zhou and Chen and the Northern Plains and the Gok Turks, like they're all involved. There's all this conflict. I'm like, It's kind of like whenever there's conflicts and stuff in a yaoi and you're just like, we know why we're here. You have to have a plot. I get it. But that is one thing that I do appreciate about this series is that it's not just smutty romance. It is a built-in story. And the way that Xin Qiao and Yan Wushi have started out, they're not lovers at all. They're not really enemies either. It's just kind of like acquaintances to rivals to maybe lovers down the road. We'll have to wait and see on that one. My contact was so dry during this reaction that I kept being like, my eyes were like, these are supposed to be blue, Lens, but my eyes were so dry. And so that's why I was like that half the time trying to read. But yeah, so basically we actually start out, we had a lot actually go down in this chapter set, but it's not anything that's too out there from the Donghua that we've already seen. Yuan Qing is interesting in that him and Yuji, they're just there, but he tries to get Xin Qiao. Everybody's trying to court Xin Qiao. Everybody's trying to get Xin Qiao to go drink their tea, and Xin Qiao's like, I don't want any tea, and Yan Wushi's like, he only wants my tea, and Xin Qiao's like, shut up. So, but yeah, Yuan Qing tries to like invite him over out for a stroll, and Xin Qiao's like, I don't know. And then, then Ruyan, Kehui is like, oh, come and have tea at our academy. And he's like, not for me. I'm not into the Southern tea. I'm like, what is it? Sweet versus unsweet? What is going on? I don't know the Chinese cultures with teas. I know here in the United States, it's mainly that in the South, like the southern part of the country is like sweet tea and the top half is unsweet tea. And depending on where you go, you will find either one or the other. But the Midwest, that little band in the Midwest is kind of where you find both. Like where I live is on the edge, the Midwest, so you find both. It's convenient, right? But anyway, so the two of us have always roomed separately. Yeah, Xin Qiao is like, he's like, we're not lovers. He's like, we've always been separate. I don't know. We're just hanging out together. I don't know why everybody's getting this, suspicion about us and everything. The funny part is that I feel like Xin Qiao and Yan Wushi both of them inadvertently have become attracted to one another. And they're becoming attracted to one another without realizing it. And they're doing certain things that neither of them, they kind of are subconsciously doing it and not really realizing that it's becoming real. They're still like, no, we're just, Xin Qiao's like, I'm just helping him because there's a political advantage to it that I'm supporting. And Yan Wushi's like, I'm just pestering him and teasing him. But there's an underlying, no, they care about one another. And it's becoming more and more apparent. And at some point, they're not going to be able to deny it and just say that they're rivals and that it's all a game. It's going to reach a point here soon where it's not going to be a game anymore. And I'm like, we're going to have to deal with that. But yeah, so he tries to deny to Yuan Qing. Ruru, meanwhile, Ruru's just sitting there like, she's like eating it up. She knows the truth. She's a girl after her own heart. She's one of us. She knows. But yeah. I also like the idea that when he says Yuan Qing is like, oh, well, you come from a Taoist background, so you probably have to abstain from meat and only eat vegetarian foods. Oh no, Xin Qiao is able to have, he can have the kebab and the eggplant too. He's like, my eyesight's just a burden. I keep forgetting that he's blind because he uses his sight and he uses his like chi sensations and everything to like sense the world around him. And so like whenever Bai Rong did the one thing about trying to like flirt with him and she realized that he was blind, that was hilarious. I loved that. So he doesn't have a sword there. That's also worth noting, just his bamboo cane. But yeah, so anyway, Yuan Qing tries to tell him not to get associated with Yan Wushi because Yan Wushi might hurt his reputation. And meanwhile, Bai Rong is trying to hint to him that something bad's going to happen to Yan Wushi, mainly because everybody's kind of tired of him and his arrogance, which he is arrogant for sure. But yeah. Then he's like, we're not in love with each other, and I am not a homosexual either. Well. That is so interesting because it's kind of a different stance that I've seen like in MXTX's works. In MXTX's works, her characters are all kind of like, well, I mean, I don't think I'm gay, but it would be bad if I was, or well, I might be, but it's not a bad thing, even if I was. It's, it's kind of interesting. Not since Scum Villain have I seen a character just outright be like, I'm not gay. No, not at all. And I'm like, are you, Shen Qiao? Are you not? Are you sure about that? My bangs, y'all. Oh, anyway. So in any case, Shen Qiao, he goes out into the city and there's a ferry crossing. The audio drama actually opens up with the ferry crossing and there's like all of this hubbub and he kind of gets separated from the others that he was traveling around and he ends up by the peddler, which I like that he gets the bamboo ball. It seems very smooth. The stuff with the little bamboo chick was really adorable. As soon as Shen Qiao was like, oh, give me some of those bamboo strips, I'm like, he's gonna pull a freaking Jesus and make her a little chick, which he does. And it's very cute. But yeah, so the peddler realizes who he is and kind of walks around with him. And he's like, well, I have nothing else going on. Nobody's really buying from my shop. So let's just go on a stroll. And that's when Bai Rong shoots the needle that ends up knocking him out. And then her and Shen Qiao can have their conversation. I am growing to like Bai Rong more and more as the series goes. I kind of went on this same pathway when I watched the Donghua. At first, I was like, mainly because I did not want her to be like, I've read some stories where the female character comes in and the guy's like, well, I'm certainly not gay. I'm with this woman. And like, it ends up being bad for her, ends up being bad for him, all that. So she's kind of like Yan Wushi though, where she's just messing around with him. Does she probably like him? Would she settle for him? Oh, absolutely. 100%. But I think deep down she knows that he's not really interested in her. She's just messing with him and he is not interested in her and is just like, I feel like he views her more like a sister kind of, or like a friend, platonic friend, like potential platonic friend. Potential platonic friend is great. And he's not really into her either because, again, now, granted, Yan Wushi's kiss was not really, Shen Qiao did not sense it coming and he was mad at it, and he tried to get away, but he was not strong enough to do so. Here he's able to get away from her. He's like, Our poor little boy here. I like that she just outright, though, what I like about Bai Rong in this chapter is that she just comes out and tells him, she's like, I cultivate with others through sex to make me stronger. She's like, you would really be good if we cultivated together, how about it? And he's like, And she's like, what, are you going to die a virgin? And he's like, hey, do not shame me for my virginity, ma'am. But I do like how she's so open talking about it. I really think it's nice. It's good to see, especially like a female character be kind of like, proud of her sexuality and like open about it and taking charge of it. I appreciate that about her. I like how I like the fact that her character is so prominent in the story in a good way. I think that she advances the plot in interesting ways and she has good banter back and forth with Shen Qiao. I like it. Although she hints that, I was waiting for Shen Qiao to question what he heard, but she's like, you need to be, you need to avoid being collateral damage. You need to stay away from Yan Wushi or you're going to get in trouble. And Shen Qiao's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I'm not telling you anymore. And then she runs away as we get to chapter 40, the two grandmasters, as Ruyan shows up. I really liked Ruyan's voice in the audio drama. He sounded really great. Him and Yan Wushi have like a diva off. Yes, which was really fun. Really fun. I really like that Ruyan tries to get Shen Qiao to come to his academy and drink his tea. And then Yan Wushi shows up and he's like, I think my friend said he didn't want any. It's like, As if people weren't going to suspect them being together already, It would create a ruinous dilemma. And honestly, I do also like that, against what people think about Shen Qiao is not defenseless. He's very much willing to stand on his principles. He's kind of a little, I don't want to say Shen Qiao is a snob, but he very much is like, no. He's not very spontaneous and go with the flow. I feel like Yan Wushi would be like, why not? And Shen Qiao's like, nope, not comfortable. So I kind of like that he stands by his laurels. I love it. So yeah, he's like that. If Yan Wushi were there, he would have spoken his mind and taunted, but that's not Shen Qiao's style. So yeah, they also talk about Qi Fengge and how Qi Fengge was Ruyan has such respect for him, but he doesn't get Shen Qiao and how he's not living up to the standard he expects of Qi Fengge. So in my head, I have this somewhat, not a love triangle, but this triangle between Qi Fengge and Ruyan and Yan Wushi, and their mutual respect triangle. Interesting. I want to know more about them, but we'll see. So yeah, we do talk a little bit about politics on page 111. Whereas Yu and Yang, Ruyan does not think he could, he's not convinced that he can unite the Central Plains. Ruyan's not a big fan of that. He's like, he compares to Qi and talks about the Gao family and how they're not doing anything good for the people. And he's like, Zhou's grown powerful by working with the Gok Turks, so we could benefit from that. And Shen Qiao's like, no. None of that. Shen Qiao is just like, I will have none of the Gok Turks. I'm highly prejudiced against them, and we're not going to ask them for help. And that's just where it is. He's like, out of respect for my master, he's like, all I can do is appreciate your kindness within my heart. I'm going to start using that phrase. He's like, oh, I would love to do that, but I'm just going to appreciate your kindness within my heart. So sorry. I need to start using that phrase. But yeah, so Shen Qiao is like, the master's trip was in vain. Sorry, I can't come with you. And at that point, Yan Wushi shows up and he's like, you're trying to convince Ah Qiao to switch sides. How dare you do that to my Ah Qiao? And Shen Qiao's just like, he's like, he's shown up. So yeah. I also liked the way, I wasn't expecting it to be exactly like it is in the Donghua, but it really is, where Ruyan just kind of dips out and then Yan Wushi follows him. What is different from the Donghua is that Shen Qiao does not immediately run after him, but I like the idea of Bai Rong leading him to where the fight is. She ends up leaving him, which was crazy. She ends up leaving him. Obviously, she's going to the cave to try to find Yan Wushi, but it's just so funny that she led him out there to where the battle was happening, and then when he looked over, she was gone, and he's like, well, that normally would take me a day of travel, but I guess I'll start walking. Which it all worked out in the end, because they both ended up in the cave where Yan Wushi was, but in the moment when she disappeared, I was like, girl, you just left him to walk all the way back from where you drug him, and you just zipped him over when he couldn't just walk by himself. Okay. But it worked out in the end. So then we have Do Yanshan, who is the leader of the Luihe Guild. Oh my god, my voice. And Yan Wushi does not view him as worthy as an opponent, which after he says that and after Do gets really mad, I'm like, I can't imagine why he offers to help everyone else subdue you, because you kind of insulted him right to his face. So that was fun. And yeah, he's like, have you ever learned the phrase pride but goeth before the fall? No, I don't think Yan Wushi recognizes that phrase at all. So yeah. So Bai Rong's like, I'm going to go watch the fight. You keep calling me Little Bai Nyangji, Little Bai Nyangji. If you don't want to call me Rong Nyang, then at least call me Pione. I like Bai Rong though. And so she lifts him up. She's like, she's like, I'm taking you there. Why are you dodging? Don't tell me you're afraid of my flirting. Which I think that strikes him in the moment, because he's been dodging Yan Wushi's advances this whole time. But in the process of avoiding those advances, is it him kind of admitting that he kind of, likes him or likes it? And then when she says it, she's like, why are you dodging my flirting? He's like, oh, it might come across the same way as when I dodge Yan Wushi's flirting. And then he just gives up and gives in and lets her carry him to the battlefield. So that was fun. Interesting moment. I love that her movements are described as movements of a swimming dragon. Dragons are my favorite mythical creatures, so I am all about that. I love that description. So yeah, we find out that one of the things that Yan Wushi has been trying to do is have both a Taoist core and a demonic core, which you cannot have two at the same time. Allegedly, supposedly, as far as the story tells us. Shen Qiao might have, tampered with that as well, but making them a little bit more alike than I thought. But yeah, that's kind of also contributing to his chi deviation. Not only the 9th descending level of the Phoenix, but also the fact that he's trying to do two things at once that you're not supposed to do. And Rong chides Shen Qiao throughout this about Yan Wushi being his lover. And eventually Shen Qiao's just like, you know what? I'm just going to let people say what they want. And I'm like, that is an understandable strategy that you just don't get. You get tired of correcting people and you just let them say what they want. But at the same time, I'm like, you're not denying the allegations. So, okay. All right. I do like that Shen Qiao acknowledges that Rong is strong and he kind of tells her that she could do better and that she can, at the end of the day, she can catch up to where Yan Wushi and Ruyan are if she just works hard enough at it. I thought that was sweet. I liked that. But yeah, so we had the scene, the imagery in the book of them with, we find it on here now, the image of them with the battle. I really liked it. I liked the picture of Ruyan slicing through. That was really cool. Of Ruyan slicing through the air. And then there's Yan Wushi trying to fight him. Again, Yan Wushi was not as present in this chapter set, except just being there, which is so weird because when you see him like with Shen Qiao and they're having their banter and everything, he's like talking. But then whenever he's like busy with stuff, he's like not really paying attention. And when he's not there, you don't know what's going on. There's a mystery there. I thought it was really effective. It was well done throughout the chapter set. So yeah. So the battle ends up in a draw. They are much more mysterious about it than the Donghua is. Although at one point, Rong tells him, like, you need to get away from him because he's being targeted. That's all I'm going to say. Just don't look into it. Whatever. I did like her thing. She's like, I'll return you a favor. You should stay away from Yan Wushi and you must take these words to heart. Don't just treat them like a passing wind or you'll end up dying a pointless death. Someone like you dying in your prime without ever experiencing sex? That would be a pity. To me, that's just giving us foreshadowing for later. Like, will Shen, I feel like the narrator for Dragon Ball Z, will Rong ever leave the Heiwan sect? Will Yan Wushi be able to stabilize his cores? Will Shen Qiao ever experience sex? Tune in next time for 1,000 Autumns. Like, poor Shen Qiao. I mean, not poor Shen Qiao. Maybe if he doesn't want to have sex, it's totally fine. But I feel like it's foreshadowing that it's going to happen. So then we have chapter 41, which is the rescue chapter. And the audio drama gave me like 30 seconds after this one. But I like Liu kind of having a point of finding Yan Wushi in the cave. I'm trying to remember back to the Donghua. I feel like in the Donghua, like, people were looking for Yan Wushi and they stumbled across the cave and saw him there. And then it was like, oh, let's try to take this guy out because he's super powerful and we make a name for ourselves doing it. And then Shen Qiao interferes. So I'm glad that we got Liu kind of coming in and being like the person to have that task in this chapter. Also, I'm trying to think now, because we know at some point that Shen Qiao has like the demonic energy inside of him. And I'm trying to figure out if he got the demonic energy the moment that Yan Wushi kissed him. If it came from that, it very well could. Or if it came when he was sitting down trying to use his, meridians to stabilize Yan Wushi. And then the chi from the chi deviation like backed up against him and like froze him out. I can't decide what event happened or caused it or when it occurred. So we'll just have to see if the novel tells us later on. But I do love Shen Qiao standing up for him. And then I love that Liu gets knocked out. And then after he does, then Rong shows up and she's like, everybody's trying to kill Yan Wushi. Now would be the time. So yeah, now would be the time. But Shen Qiao is like, I'm not going to just let you kick this man while he's down. I'm not going to let you play dirty and attack Yan Wushi while he's, meditating. He's like, that wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be ethical. He's like, I'm an ethical man, so... I also think it's interesting that the novel points out that Yan Wushi's dilemma was something that Shen Qiao had found out a while ago. That it was really just down to the demonic cores. And he had kind of, sensed what Yan Wushi was trying to do. I thought that was interesting. And he's frowned. He tried to send his true chi into Yan Wushi's body, but it seemed to reject him. So yeah, I wonder when it rejected it back, if that was the moment or if it was the kiss. I don't know. But yeah, Rong shows up thinking she's going to possibly kill Yan Wushi because that would make her job a lot easier. But then the audio drama ended with him waking up and she was like, bye, peace out. Don't want to stick around for that. So I did think it was interesting. We got down that she was using Song Jijing's set of footwork techniques, the 16 steps from heaven to abyss. Love the name. I don't know if that's confirmation that she's cultivated with Song Jijing. I would imagine it would be, but then if that's the case, Shen Qiao picked up Yan Wushi's water finger technique, and did they technically cultivate together? So I don't know. But yeah, she's like, if you let me kill Yan Wushi, I'll do everything I can to help you recover your martial arts and regain your position as Jiandu Mountain isn't having power within your grasp 100 times better than being forced to depend upon others. And here's the thing. Everybody in this chapter set makes a point of telling Shen Qiao not to rely upon Yan Wushi. But I think that Shen Qiao knows, and we the audience know, that he's not really relying upon him at this point. He's not really. At the very beginning of the series, yeah. When he was first getting off the ground, sure. And yeah, over the course of the last several chapters, he is still relying upon Yan Wushi to help him, reactivate the Zhuyang strategy and get his, stuff flowing. And the Donghua was saying that and whatever. But he's not really been depending upon Yan Wushi. He's made the conscious choice and decision to follow him. So it's not like he's being forced to do it. He's made a choice, and none of the other people seem to get that. So I feel like it's going to keep coming up until Shen Qiao is like, I want to be here, and I want to be by his side, and then everybody's going to be like, but why? So these chapters are really good. I'm getting very excited to get into the content we have not talked about, and I'll probably have much more to discuss then. But these 3 chapters were so flowing and fluid, and I really enjoyed them. But I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next week. So again, we're going to be reading chapters 42 through 44 next week, and I'm really excited about that. I'll probably dive into those the next few days, just saying. But in the meantime, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Thousand Autumns. And I'll see you then. Bye.